This is the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
The Chiefs have won! The Chiefs have won Super Bowl 57!
If you want Chiefs, follow the leader. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
If last week wasn't the nail in the coffin for you, now we can officially put that nail in the coffin for the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs. An ugly end to an ugly attempt of keeping this season alive. Other than the opening drive of the game, maybe the last moment of happiness you had watching this football game was Ashton Gelati picking the ball off. Defense looked good. They build a 10-point lead. In the end, yet another Sunday where we are talking about a loss for the Chiefs. And though the percentages were incredibly low for them actually reaching January, getting to the postseason, have another shot, now it is over. At 6-8, since the bye week, they have won one game. And that was in that comeback against the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, maybe this was always going to be the outcome from earlier in the year when you saw some of the issues right after the 3-game home winning streak. Maybe this was something that was always going to happen. The injuries, the play calling, the special teams, the inconsistency from the defense. It's unfortunate that this year we won't be able to talk about a phenomenal run to show that this team can get hot at the right time. I'm sitting here baffled that in not any of these games, the last 4 to 5 outings, we have gotten that over my dead body type of game. And it's not on one person. It's not on one coach. It's not on one player. When you have a team that has talent like this, has a target on their back, well, they've been able to, the last couple of years, overcome a lot of the adversity that had been put in front of them. This year, there was just too much of it. And the players that have usually pulled you out of it could get over the hump. Those would be the years that they do get hot at the right time. Those would be the years where nobody wants to see them in the postseason. And it wasn't until last week, truthfully, and I'll out myself a little bit here, it wasn't until last week, that loss to Houston, where I said, if the Chiefs do win their final 4 games of the season and they sneak in, the Chargers, they go 1-3 down the stretch. At 10-7, they grab the 7th seed and go to Denver and play the Broncos for the 3rd time this season. If they are able to do that, I still don't believe that the top teams, New England, Denver, Jacksonville, they look at the Chiefs and say, well, we really don't want to draw them, because there were so many holes on this team, so many issues, so many injuries, that they were really not going to be a threat to begin with in January. If they had gotten hot at the right time, you would have had the national pundits out there saying, well, they did get 2 games at home against the Broncos and Chargers, 2 teams they have found a lot of ways to win against in Kansas City over the last decade. They've had a ton of success. And then their 2 road games were against 2 of the worst teams in football, Tennessee and the Raiders. I don't believe that they were ever going to turn it on. Now, when you think about it, you go back to that Denver game, it was the wake-up call. Then we had it for 1 week against Indianapolis. After that, you just never saw the same intensity. And what's worse in this game, I mean, the injury to Jalen Moore, of course, the major injury, Patrick Mahomes. We'll get some more word on that from Andy Reid. We'll see if Patrick Mahomes takes the podium or Gardner Minshew, who had to fill in on that final drive. Mahomes had the towel over his head, walked to the locker room. I mean, as awful of an ending as an attempt to make a run to the postseason. That's about as bad as you could get. blowing a 10-point lead, and then as you're driving on that final chance, the last gasp for air, your Hall of Famer, your guy who has gotten you 3 Super Bowl rings, goes down with what appeared to be a pretty significant injury. I mean, you can't script it any worse than that. And I know what's going to be said on the other end of these phone lines. And you can call it at 913-381-0810. I know we're going to pick apart certain things with this team. Offensive line, injuries, defense, inconsistency, special teams. Even before the injury that Patrick Mahomes had, yet again, we are seeing him force something that didn't need to be forced. The interception right as you were driving, you could have settled for 3, tie game. You handle things differently there in the fourth quarter. But like we saw in Denver, and like we saw at times against Houston, just forcing the ball where it doesn't need to go. And yeah, when you have a lot of the completions that Patrick Mahomes has had in his career, finding ways to fit it into a tight window, game on the line, he's had bigger moments, he's had bigger throws. But this year, what appears to be different is that all of these extra effort plays, the scrambling, the sidearm throws, they're either not caught or they're picked off. It's just the other side of the coin in 2025. When you got those 50-50 balls, I mean, that wheel route to Kareem Hunt that was picked off, now it's not a high percentage play to begin with because Kareem Hunt's not going to Randy Moss somebody down the sideline. But wouldn't it just feel like in previous years that ball falls incomplete or whoever he's throwing it to catches that ball? I mean, we know how it's gone, how fortunate we have been able to endure this stretch of success. And I'm not going to take time, 2 hours here to say it's over, the dynasty will finally end, and now we're back to mediocrity. No, we'll definitely wait and see what they do in the postseason. But I'm not going to fight you if you say this era of the Chiefs is now officially dead. This era, this version of the Chiefs, yeah, their run of dominance, this version, it is over, and it's not all bad because you do have to adapt. And you look to the last great dynasty in the New England Patriots, there were different versions of them. And hell, there's been 3 different versions of the Chiefs in each of their 3 Super Bowl victories under Patrick Mahomes. But this might be more drastic than we're used to. You're going to have to find ways to hit on high draft picks. You want to hope that this is the highest that Patrick Mahomes-led teams will pick in the draft. You want to hope that 15th, 16th, you want to hope this is as high as it gets. But now you look at these final 3 games. As I said, we'll get more word from the Chiefs on that injury for Patrick Mahomes. You're looking at these final 3 games with Gardner Minshew starting. You're not playing for anything. I'm not advocating for tanking. I'm really not. And it's hard to tell a locker room, hey, don't go out there and win. They're still going to try to win these games, and they're going to be favored to win a couple of them. But what an odd spot to be in, where gone are the days that I will be able to talk to you after a loss and say, well, get these things, I don't want to say get these things cleaned up, but when a loss happens in week 2 or week 4, you got time to get better. And even in those early season struggles we saw in previous seasons, they always got it corrected. This team never did. The last time you felt great about this football team was after they beat the Washington Commanders on Sunday Night Football. It might have been Monday Night Football now that I think about it. That's the last time you felt good about this football team. 3-game winning streak at home, and then they've won 1 game since then. They have gone 1-5. Multiple playoff teams, multiple weeks where we have gone into the weekend saying, this is it for the Chiefs. Back is finally against the wall. We're going to see what they're made of. And that's what was staggering, to be honest with you. Not one time did they have that intensity of punching you in the mouth and not letting up. Against the Colts, they didn't come out with intensity. And it was Daniel Jones crumbling down the stretch. Now, I give credit to Steve Spagnuolo and that defense that flipped that game. But it became so hard to watch the offense move the ball. There was no threat to run it. Guys are dropping passes. Guys aren't getting open. There's turnovers. Special teams had blunders. I mean, now you will see a different energy come Monday because there is no more hope that you can talk about. There is nothing that you can spin in those press conferences. You can't do it. You're 6-8. And as we said last week, and I know I said I came off a little bit harsh, but it's a bad football team. It's a football team that maybe we should have all seen this coming from them. We're clinging to hope. You were clinging to hope for the past version of this team. And yes, they had similar players. They got younger in certain areas. There was upside for this team. And it's hard. I get it. It's hard to win in this league. It's hard to play with a target on your back. But there were previous Chiefs teams that played with a larger target. And you could even say dealt with more adversity at times. Now, it's maybe hard for me to convince you of that after seeing two guys that were on the practice squad start at left tackle and right tackle today. 3 of your 5 offensive linemen were undrafted players. And you're going up against a top 10 defense in the NFL. You know, I am going to pull something from what we said last week and use it today again. I'm not shocked that this was the outcome. I was shocked that Vegas had this as a 6-point spread in favor of Kansas City. And it was not to be doom and gloom. It was not to be negative. But at some point, you deal with so many injuries, and you have such a large sample size of this football team, we can't spin it in a positive way. I mean, even when they built their 10-point lead, some of that was due to great field position, forcing the turnover, and yet those didn't even result in touchdowns. Your opening drive, one of your best drives you've had of the season, you get a touchdown, and you never score a touchdown again. And that's credit to the Chargers defense. And I also believe it's just the sloppiness of this Chiefs offense. And there are a lot of questions that you have to answer this offseason. Because it's now looking like you didn't just miss the postseason. You missed it by a mile. You really weren't close when it's all said and done. I would have thought that the first time Patrick Mahomes misses the postseason, it would have been one of those Week 17 thrillers where it's win and in, lose and out. And the Chiefs just unfortunately would lose that game, or maybe they would win, but they needed somebody else to lose and they didn't. That was always in my mind. Now, the year they missed the postseason with Patrick Mahomes, they'll be in it the entire way. And to think in these final 3 games that they're not going to be in it. And what's worse, you might not even get to see Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce completing passes to each other. Maybe again. I hate to pile that on here, but it's a reality that we have to face. I don't know if Travis Kelce will come back. We knew that he did want to come back after getting, blown out in the Super Bowl. You wanted to have one more shot. I'm not even sure you considered this a risk in the offseason. I'm not even sure in their wildest nightmares, we'll call it, this could have been the outcome for the 2025 Chiefs. Yet here we are, a 6-8 football team that is eliminated from postseason contention. It's wild to think about for sure, but I'm not floored this was the outcome today, because we've had these last 5 games to look back on. In any one of those games for all 4 quarters, did the offense look like they were in a groove? Did the defense look like they'd put together enough consistency? Did the special teams do that? I don't believe you could argue that. I don't believe you could say that. And it sucks to recap it this way today. I would have loved to see this team go 10-7, and if they got eliminated then, the Chargers won that second game that they needed to, so be it. At least we got to talk about meaningful, competitive football for the final 4 weeks of the season. Now these final 3 games, I mean, we'll find a way to make 2 to 3 hours out of each and every show. I promise you that. It's still the Red and Gold postgame show that we're talking about. But to think now these next 3 weeks, it's not about, well, now you got some momentum. I mean, to make matters worse here, Dylan, next week is the damn Tennessee Titans. And you're out of it. These next 3 games mean nothing. And I'm not sure I want to sit here and talk about, well, get the rookies some run, get them some experience. I mean, even if Patrick Mahomes, again, we'll get an official word here rather soon. He doesn't need to take a snap the rest of the season. This needs to be Gardner Minshew's team for the final 3 weeks and see what happens. But what a gut-wrenching, maybe gut-wrenching is not even the right word to use, because you've been beaten down, this team's been beaten down the last 6 games. No, you've just been taking these punches over and over and over again. And now the only thing that's changed, there's no more speculation. There's no more optimistic outlook. This is it. This team is not making the postseason. And now the sights are set on the offseason and how you're going to restructure and rebuild this football team. You are going to watch somebody else in the AFC get a shot at the Super Bowl. And only twice, think about that, only twice in Patrick Mahomes' career, unless I'm blanking on somebody here, has he seen another quarterback represent the AFC. Tom Brady, Joe Burrow. It's been Brady, Burrow, or Mahomes for nearly a decade. And now it's going to be somebody else on the AFC side. Chiefs fall at Arrowhead Stadium today to the LA Chargers 16-13. They are officially eliminated from postseason contention. Let's jump on the phone lines here for the Red and Gold postgame show. Again, you want to give us your thoughts, 913-381-810-810. That's 913-381-810. Let's start things off here with Jerry. Jerry, you're on the Red and Gold postgame show. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
We got you loud and clear.
I got you on speakerphone.
All righty. What you got?
Most important thing is I wanted to wish you and Dylan a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I appreciate every week that you guys do this post-game show. I enjoy it a lot. And a couple things. I hope Travis Kelce doesn't beat himself up too much about things that happened during the game and things that happened through this year. I felt really bad. It was ironic that the pass to him was the one that got intercepted at the end that killed the game, and I just don't want him beating himself up over that. There's all kinds of things that could have happened that Chiefs could have had a great season. My biggest complaint was the referees all season long, but there's no sense in saying that. If Andy Reid won't even throw him under the bus, then I can't complain, and most people get sick of hearing about how the refs are cheating for the Chiefs or cheating against the Chiefs, and it gets really tiresome. I'm not glad that it's over with, but I don't know. I'm ready to move on to other things. You can appreciate this. I can hardly wait for Royals baseball, whether it's winter ball or spring training or whatever. I'm looking forward to that big time, and I believe you are too. This is going to be a really good season for them. But the only other thing, I did want to complain about the refs a lot, but I really can't do it. You guys will say everything you need to say, but I'm still going to be rooting for the Chiefs. I stopped going to Chiefs games around 1991, 92, 93, well, about 93 or so. That's when I was going. But it was a loss to the Chargers at the end of the year. It was 7 degrees outside. wind blowing 35 miles an hour. I found someone's billfold and gave it back to him at Arrowhead Stadium in the bathroom, and he offered to buy me a beer. And it was so cold, I said, "Can I trade that in for a hot chocolate?" And the guy was really great, but I would still go again. And Patrick, I traded texts with Patrick once a couple of years ago around Thanksgiving. He asked me if I was going to come and see him play. And I said, "I don't have the resources to, but I'm always going to be rooting for you no matter what." So my prayers are with Patrick. I hope everything turns out okay, and I just want him to rest for the holiday seasons. And good luck to Gardner Minshew. I hope I didn't take too long, but those are just things that I was thinking about. I'm not giving up on the Chiefs, but I am this season.
I appreciate the phone call, Jerry. Good stuff. And, I won't fault you one way or the other today. If you've already put this team to rest, then you're not stinging as much today. I know it's kind of that finality part to it, but if you 5 weeks ago had put this team to bed, then yeah, today doesn't sting. There's also the other side to this.
I'm more devastated over the injury.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you thought this team was going to, they could have. Miracles happen. But you watch these other teams that are getting hot right now.
Yeah,
we are not on the same. The Texans. I mean, the Chargers out there today were playing like the desperation of a team that hasn't. I mean, we are not. We can never be as desperate as the Chargers or the Texans or the Bills or the Bengals, because we've won so much that they are just going to play with their hair on fire at a different level than we could ever even match.
Absolutely.
And it just, we're still good enough to be out and in these games in the end. And it's just, that's why they're hitting hard. That's why it's just a slugfest the last 2 weeks.
It's been a grind. They have been so physically beaten up these last 2 weeks, and I mean that both with the injuries they've had, but also just bullied on both sides of the ball. Those are teams that are just flat out better than them. By the way, a little bit of an update here. We will have Andy Reid later on in the show, hear what he had to say audio-wise, but Jesse Newell reports that Andy Reid said Patrick Mahomes has a hurt left knee MRI tomorrow. That's the most that we got right now. That seemed to be expected. He had a towel over his head. He was limping to the locker room. Really couldn't put much weight on it. There's no need for him to play the rest of the way. It's going to be Gardner Minshew's team, and you got to start gearing up for a very, very important offseason. Because you know what? The rest of the AFC that has lived under your reign of terror ever since Patrick Mahomes entered this league, they're rejoicing today. They're celebrating. They have every right to, because they're not going to have to go through you. Buffalo has to be elated right now, because if not this year, I don't know when it's ever going to be for Buffalo. They're not going to have to go through the Chiefs. Nobody will on the AFC side, as they're eliminated from playoff contention today after a loss to the Chargers. Let's head over to the phone lines again, hear from Gary. Gary on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Go ahead.
Well, finally, we can finally throw dirt on these guys, because they've thrown dirt at the fans all year. I don't want to hear what Andy has to say after the game. I don't want to hear it's a mistake here, it's a mistake there. No, you got your tails kicked on both sides of the line of scrimmage again, because you're Mr. Softy. You don't believe in physicality on either side of the line of scrimmage. That's what the Chargers are built for. They knew that. They saw the Super Bowl last year. They took Pierre Tart. That guy was an animal. And Esapole, it was Suamadi all over again. Oh, he looked great his first game. Then the next week, he was a turnstile. They need to get that Kevin Smarty from the State Farm commercials to play guard, because I think the crossing guard would be more effective than anybody they have up front. If Mahomes gets these offensive linemen anything for Christmas, he's crazy. You don't get those guys anything, because all they've done is get you beat up. They don't play to the whistle. They stand there and watch you get hit. You never see a Chiefs offensive lineman playing to the whistle. I'm just tired of it. And the receivers, Rashee Rice, if they give this guy an extension, they're stupider than I tell people. And a big part of the problem, you've got to take any personnel decisions away from Andy. You've got to tell him, you've got to move on from this staff of offensive coaches. You've got to do it. And Dave Tobin needs to worry a little less about what the president thinks and worry a little bit more about his own stuff, because there's plenty there to keep him busy right now. His units are horrible, and I mean horrible. And I'm not excited about Gardner Minshew. He's a horrible quarterback. I don't know why they signed him. They played against him, and they beat him because he does stupid things, as we saw today at the end of the game. But the receivers, and if I'm Mahomes, I'm tired of being Mr. Nice Guy. I'm putting the organization on blast, because they've done nothing for him. Nothing. They don't address the offensive line. And I'm going to say something that's not going to sound sexy, but if there's a good tackle there where you're picking, you draft him because you need to put a wall in front of that guy, and you've got maybe a foundation with Simmons. Say a Caden Proctor from Alabama sitting there.
Hey, Gary, good stuff. Sorry to cut you short a little bit. We are going to jump over to the podium real quick. Got to take Creed Humphrey live, but appreciate your phone call. Here's Creed Humphrey.
Exactly what's going on yet, so I can't really say anything. Just hoping he's okay.
Did you get a chance to give him any words of encouragement since the game ended?
I haven't seen him since the game ended. Yep.
And just your own feeling about knowing what was at stake today, and now that you guys lost, how do you kind of process where you are now?
Yeah, it sucks, but we have 3 games left, so you can take it one of 2 ways. You can mope around, cry about it, or you can come in ready to work and get ready for these next 3 weeks. So I think we have the guys that are going to come in and be ready for the next 3 weeks.
You guys have had so many injuries and things happen on the offensive line again. Against the second play of the game, Jalen got hurt, Shoe came in, and Jalen fought back. Just take us through what it's like out there when there's so many different people, whatever play coming up on the line during the game.
Yeah, I'm proud of the young guys and how they stepped up today. They came in, they played pretty well, so I'm proud of them. And it stinks, the injuries and everything, but we have the right guys in the room, and I'm proud of how they stepped up and fought the entire game.
And got a little feisty out there in that fourth quarter after the hit on Taekwon. Just kind of take us through, maybe not all the words that were said, but some of the stuff that was happening there between you guys. All of you.
Yeah, it was an intense physical game. Rivals with them in the division, so it's going to be chippy out there. For us, just got to concentrate and execute on the next play and, figure that out. So, it's a chippy game. It's a physical game. That's what it is. So for us, we got to be able to, concentrate on the next play.
Did you feel like, obviously one thing went over the line, they kicked Jefferson out of the game, but everything else was just good competition and just chippiness like you normally see?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Creed.
All right, that was quick there from Creed Humphrey. I mean, you look at a game like this, you look at what's ahead. I am really curious to know what type of drive and intensity this football team has in 3 games that, let's be honest, they really don't mean anything. Gardner Minshew will probably be the guy taking the snaps. Andy Reid also said that they'll know a little bit more tomorrow on the MRI, but it doesn't look good. Now at this point, you're crossing your fingers so that he's going to be ready to go around training camp. You're hoping it's nothing that serious because you don't want to have to play without Patrick Mahomes for a chunk of the season. We're still waiting around here for Chris Jones to get the podium. For those of you that are on the phone line, we take these guys live, so appreciate your patience. And if we ever do have to cut you off, sorry about that, Gary. We do have to jump to them live. So it's nothing that you said, nothing you did wrong, just that we have to wait for these guys to get to the podium and let you hear what they have to say. Following a 16-13 loss to the Chargers today, they're officially eliminated from postseason contention. The first year they're missing the postseason since 2014. A reminder that you are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. It has just been a grind and a painful stretch of football games for the Chiefs. Whereas last year, you get this incredible record in one-score games. They're now 1-7 in one-score football games this year. Everything that could possibly go wrong down the stretch, everything that could go against them, it happened. And the hard pill to swallow is that really we can go over each and every one of these games and point out those flaws, point out the certain points, the pivotal moments where they lost that football game. To me, it can just happen in the NFL. Great teams can become mediocre for a year. And if there is one thing we can spin today for a positive outlook, it's that now that you've turned in a season like this, which I feel that every player, coach, and front office member, ownership would say it's been a catastrophic season, especially now that Patrick Mahomes is likely not playing the final 3 games of the regular season due to injury. I mean, you can't script it any worse, as I said. A catastrophic season. It forces you to be far more aggressive in the offseason. I understand the cap situation. You have to hit on the draft because the feet are going to be put to the fire a little bit. We've been able to, the last couple of off seasons and coming off a Super Bowl win or a Super Bowl appearance, say, oh, whatever move they make, it's likely going to work out. It's what this organization does. Everybody that comes here succeeds. Every pick that they take seemed to turn out pretty good, right? This year, all of those moves pretty much have to work. Even the gambles that you take. Now, you think about this past off season. You gave Christian Fulton a multi-year deal to do nothing. You extended some guys that didn't put together very strong seasons. And if this team would have made the postseason and made a run, it's probably not a headline of the season. And I'm not going to say some of these extensions and signings will be the headline. The headline will just be how poor they were in one-score games, the injuries they went through, and how everybody else just appeared to be sick and tired of getting bullied. But this Chiefs team, now 6-8. They'll have to win all 3 of the remaining regular season games to finish with a winning record. And I just don't know how that's going to happen if you don't have Patrick Mahomes and you have this state of the offensive line. While we're waiting for Chris, real quickly, let's get to Steve. Steve, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Go ahead.
Hey, just real quick, I want to be positive here at first and thank Kevin Harlan and Trent Green, a couple local guys, now announcers, having the courage to carry the NFL referees media line. I wouldn't want to point out 2 or 3 or 4 missed calls by those refs, but I just appreciate Kevin and Trent staying homers like they just did. I blame Brett Veach real quick for parking us with Derek Nottie, Omenahue, and today it was Omenahu because he really hasn't shown up all year. Of course, we had Pinnell and Nottie and Dana all doing nothing. Curious George, he's curious because he never knows where the ball is. And just really sad. I think I'm really disappointed most in the assistant coaches. The only one I'd keep is Merritt because he's the only one who's taught any position group how to get better, and that's the defensive backs. He's done a great job there. I'd dump all the rest, including that wide receivers coach and Tobe on down over there. Just really sick of the way the entire season we never saw Chris Jones firing up that defense on the sidelines. We never saw Travis going up and down firing up the receivers. We never saw Patrick going up and down firing up the offensive line. If they're going to do it, if they're not going to do it, who is? But Brett Veach, he's the guy who traded up in the 4th round to get Noel Williams, no running back. He did not do anything with, maybe getting a Jaden Phillips like the Eagles at defensive end or Quinnen Williams at nose tackle for the Cowboys. We sat pat because this defense was good enough. And, of course, the number 1 offensive tackle in pass blocking coming out of the draft last year wasn't Simmons, it was Esa Pole. Now, his run blocking scores were in the 30s, and it knocked him down and caused him not to get drafted. But he was the number 1 graded offensive tackle, and we let him get torched away by the Jets. And then we're not even smart enough. Beach isn't even smart enough this week to add an offensive tackle off the street, and we bring Chugadrick up, who is a 3-year international player with no talent and would not be playing on the field with any other NFL team. I'll leave it at that, but there's a lot to fix. And it is positive news. The Royals have made 3 acquisitions this week. Good news in signing McHale. There's hope.
Appreciate the stuff, Steve. And, yeah, I feel that with this coaching staff, there's going to be a lot of guys that are under fire a little bit. There's going to be more than a few guys that are going to have to answer some pretty tough questions. And maybe you're somebody that feels they don't need to make any changes to the staff. Maybe you're somebody that wants more than just a few guys that want to be removed from this staff. But now for the first time in a while, you have a team that is going to have to make some significant changes. Gardner Minshew is actually at the podium right now. We're going to take him live.
Execute the offense. Hate that situation. Hate that couldn't deliver and get us a win and keep our hopes alive. But,
What would you see on the interception?
They were in man coverage. Tried to take a shot to Trav. Probably should have kept moving.
Gardner, you've been in the room with Patrick the whole season. Just how frustrating has this last few weeks been, just the way offense has been able to not look out the way you like?
Yeah, it's very frustrating, man. It's been hard to watch for Pat. Like, that dude puts so much into it. I don't think I've ever respected anybody I play with more. I've never seen anybody I play with give so much of themselves to the team. And to not get the results is hard. But I have more confidence in him than anybody to come back and be better than ever.
Gardner, what do you see from him just the last few weeks?
Dude just shows up every day. Every play, every work day, just giving it his best, trying to lead. And, he's the best.
Are you on a few different teams? This team's 6-8, but you still feel like that this team had more potential over these last 14 weeks? That this team's better than what its record has been, its performance has been?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're 6-8. Probably could have been something else. I don't know.
I don't think you did see Patrick afterwards, or if you did.
Not to the locker room. Yeah.
Guys, on the sideline watching this game and then going in there, so many guys got hurt, came back in the game, all that. Did you kind of feel the importance of this? The guys going out there and laying on the line?
I mean, we got guys doing that every week. I think Pat leads the charge with that, puts it out every week. I mean, we got so many guys that are battling. That's what this time of year is about. It's been awesome to see how many guys go give themselves a chance to give our team a chance. And, I look for guys to continue to do that.
Gardner, everyone obviously something for the best with Patrick, but just there are 3 games left. How comfortable do you feel if you do have to take the team there in practice to be that guy?
Yeah, I feel comfortable. I'll do whatever the coaches ask of me, and we'll go try to win some games.
It sounds like you have a lot of respect for Pat. So was it hard to compartmentalize, worrying, maybe fear about what might be going on with him as you try to take the field in a key situation?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the job you're in, Unfortunately, for me to play, that's what happens, and, you got to compartmentalize. Obviously, get back to the locker room, and that's the most concerning thing, and just respect for him.
You said you saw in the locker room. How were his spirits afterwards?
Yeah, he's down, man. Obviously, it's a tough game. Been a tough year at this point, but, nobody's better for it.
Thanks, Gardner.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
All right, that was Gardner Minshew. We're obviously not going to be hearing from Patrick Mahomes as we usually do on this show. We will get the thoughts of Andy Reid. We will talk with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. But real quickly, want to wrap up our 2 final callers for our opening segment. Let's start it off with Kyle. Kyle, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Thanks for your patience.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me okay?
Got you loud and clear.
Awesome. So, here's my points. First point is, you had you were in the end zone. You had a chance to put a field goal. Mahomes should have taken a sack, and then you tie the game up there. Then you had another chance to tie the game when Gardner Minshew. We were in field goal range, but then you had a stupid delayed game penalty. But this is where my point is. Again, the 3 losses in a row. We had chances to put teams away or win a game, and then you beat yourselves. It's a penalty. You're like a penalty, a field goal, or a touchdown to win, or an interception, and that's been the last 3 games in a row. The Chiefs have had chances to put teams away, and then you couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. So here's what. I think the Chiefs, obviously the offensive line is in shambles, but that's been the Chiefs all year, is just beating themselves. And we've seen that time and time again this year, and it's uncharacteristic. So there's going to have to be some change. So that's my first point. Second point is, obviously, the offensive line. Today, they just look terrible. I mean, Mahomes is running for his life, but also there were times where Mahomes did have time, but receivers were not getting open. So I think it's time. I think it's time to trade some pieces, and I know there's going to be some players that you may not like, but I think we should trade Rashee Rice. I think you need to trade McDuffie, and I think it's time to look, to get some draft capital and start getting this team. And I said that last week. Third point is, I'll make it real quick. I think Dave Tobe needs to be fired. Our special teams, the mistakes, and then Matt Nagy needs to go. Matt Nagy is he's calling plays on Alex. He's calling plays similar to when Alex Smith was here. I understand Andy Reid calls plays too, but Matt Nagy, this is when you have Mahomes, you gotta. This is not an Alex Smith offense. This is a Mahomes offense, and Matt Nagy seems to be calling the plays to Alex Smith's strengths, not Mahomes' strengths. So, thank you for taking my call. And I don't think we need to fire Andy Reid, but there needs to be changes. I think we need to look at this team this year. There has been a light a light has been shown on the weaknesses that the Chiefs have had the last couple of years. And I think Brett Beach needs to now's the time for Brett Beach to fix those to fix it. So thank you for taking my call.
I appreciate the stuff, Kyle. Yeah, they're going to need to do a lot. I mean, this is not going to be an off season where you're going to be able to sit on your hands. You need to be able to go out there, make the right moves, hit on your draft picks. Easier said than done. So I would say that for the most part, you are putting a lot of pressure on this front office to make a lot of moves quickly, to get a lot of the right moves done, and I'm not going to sit through an ugly start of 2026. Of course, we're going to be watching those games, recapping those games, but I'm not going to have the patience of starting off 2-4. You got to be able to have a hot start to the season, so we're not talking about playing catch-up over and over and over again. Do want to get to one more caller here in the coming seconds here. Hopefully we can have his mic up here, but we'll end it with Dan and KCK. Dan, do you read me loud and clear? I don't believe we have Dan right now. We'll probably have to get to him after the break. We are going to hear from Chris Jones for our locker room report. We are going to hear from Matt Derrick. We are going to hear from Andy Reid. So let's take a quick break, come back. We'll get to Dan's thoughts. Actually, we can get to Dan right now. Yeah, okay, so Dylan does give me the thumbs up. Sorry about all the confusion, folks. We are going to go to Dan and KCK. Dan, wrap us up here on the Red and Gold Postgame Show for callers.
Hey, Jack, how you doing? I just got back from that black box. Everybody's disappointed Chiefs been pulled out. But it was a great run, referees missed some calls in the first half, but that's the way it goes, And it's too bad Mahomes got hurt. Let's regroup now next year and come back stronger than ever. Thank you, Jack.
And nice and sweet from Dan, staying optimistic and knowing that this team wants to get back to where they want to get to. Very important offseason, lots of moves.
Dan's a great closer.
He is a great closer, as always, to end our caller segment on that. We'll probably be a little bit shorter of a post-game show today just because we don't have a segment dedicated to Patrick Mahomes, who left on the final drive of the game with an apparent knee injury. Andy Reid did say that it did not look good, and we will have an MRI update tomorrow when the Chiefs also do speak to the media. But as for us, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to hear from Chris Jones for our locker report on the Red and Gold postgame show on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The Sports Radio 810 postgame show is presented by Boda Box Wine. Great for tailgates, great for sharing among friends and family.
On the play, Gelati, the rookie. It's a thick pick inside the 20. Oh, he's a big man with a lot of hair.
Well, Steve Spagnuolo decides to put 8 guys at the line of scrimmage to cause protection concerns, and they were able to get after. Look at the number of bodies at the line. No one's blocking the edge.
All right, that interception from Ashton Gelati was our central bank play of the game. Join the best in banking when you open an account with Central Bank. Central Bank, strong roots, endless possibilities, member FDIC. And we are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, or you are tuned in. We are talking Chiefs football, and we, as always, are presented by Bodabox Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Bodabox, the ultimate tailgate wine. Coming up here shortly, we are going to hear from Andy Reid, get his thoughts as the Chiefs are eliminated from postseason contention for the first time since 2014. They are 1-5 in their last 6 games. At one point in the season, 5-3, 3 straight wins at home. They've only beaten the Colts since that point. Just been an incredibly ugly finish to this season, and it's only gotten worse now that Patrick Mahomes has a knee injury that Andy Reid said did not look good. So we can fully expect Gardner Minshew taking snaps against Tennessee, the Broncos on Christmas night, and then the Raiders, team that he used to play for and start for last year, to close out a catastrophic season. And, you know, I will be interested next week when we do our Red and Gold postgame show following the Chiefs and Titans. No matter how that game goes down, I'm curious to know what you guys will take away from that game. You know, they lose. There's 3 backup offensive linemen, Gardner Minshew. A loss really doesn't do anything other than help their draft position. Are we going to be getting phone calls on, glad they lost because now we're only picking higher? Or is it going to be that you're so beaten down, how much worse could it get? Or are you going to be angry of, man, even with all these backups in, we're still losing to the Titans. Where's the pride for this football team? Well, I know Chris Jones does talk a little bit about pride up at the presser. He did a little bit ago, probably about 15 minutes ago, and he will be a part of our locker room report, which, as always, is brought to you by Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance. Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance. Whatever you do, if you are a Missourian, we are here for you. We are Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance, and we've got you covered. So Chris Jones will be our locker room report. As soon as I get the thumbs up from Dylan, we are going to give you what he had to say after today's game. 16-13 the final. The Chiefs had a 13-3 lead, 13 unanswered from the Los Angeles Chargers, who have all but punched their ticket into the postseason. They're now 10-4. Chiefs 6-8. They will be hanging on likely to that third-place finish in the AFC West. The Raiders, they fell again today. We'll give you our scores from around the league coming up here shortly as well. But moving forward in the next couple of weeks, kind of tying back into the talk about the Titans game, what we'll all be looking for, what we'll be hoping to see. You know, Gardner Minshew getting these snaps, is it something that, I don't know, maybe should have happened earlier? I mean, it would have been dumb to do, considering the Chiefs had life still. They were still breathing. And Patrick Mahomes has done crazier things in his career. But with the backup offensive lineman, the worst thing that could have came out from the season is not missing the postseason. It would be losing Patrick Mahomes for an extended period in 2026. And now not only are you missing the postseason, you're not going to have Patrick Mahomes the rest of the way, and we got to wait to see what that MRI says. But to hear Andy Reid say it doesn't look good, that's the troubling part about it. I would have still played Patrick Mahomes going into this one, but I'm sure there's some people out there today saying there was never going to be much of a chance to begin with. I would have rested Patrick Mahomes with the bum knee that he had against Houston. I'm sure he never would have taken that answer. But, yeah, that's just one man's opinion there. I would have played him, but I know there's some of you out there that would have rather just played Gardner Minshew the rest of the way before something like this could have happened. Now for the locker room report, here is Chris Jones.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, any game you lose, it's tough. we're all competitors here, especially me, especially with so much at stake. It was tough.
When you left, was it already on your mind that you guys would be out of the playoffs when you came off the field?
I think the score was 13-13 or 13-10, so still have a fighting chance. Are we out of the playoffs? We are. Okay.
A lot of guys have been through this game. Got hurt, went back in. Second play of the game, Jalen got hurt, went back in. Said he was in the concussion protocol. But clearly, you guys knew the importance of this game. What's that say about talking to you guys fighting throughout this game?
I think we have a lot of guys who is very resilient in our locker room, competitive, and we all knew it was at stake. We all wanted to be a part of this game. We were always looking forward to it. Unfortunately, we didn't get the outcome that we hoped for, but everyone battled.
It sounds like you didn't know for sure you were out of the playoffs. How does that sink in with you knowing that?
Every year is a journey, man, and success is rented every year. Every year you get to rent success, and sometimes it don't go the way you plan for it to go. It's a learning curve for you guys. You know what I mean? Especially us. I think we learned a lot on this year, and we understand the fact that in order to be successful, man, it's an everyday thing. It's not on 1 week. Put in the next week. No, it's a consistent thing, and we had a lot of guys coming back, and as long as they know that it's rented every year. Just because the last year team made it to the Super Bowl, that doesn't guarantee a success. You know what I mean? And we got 3 more games, which we got to finish strong still as competitors, as employees of this organization. I think it's important to finish strong, play with pride. Most importantly, play for yourself. The name on the back of your jersey, but also the name on the front of your jersey. So I think it's going to be competitive for us, and we're going to keep on going. Something to build off on. Looking forward to next year.
Chris, how did you were in the except for how did you hold it physically the rest of the game when you were managing it? Just all the guys that went through this, how did you guys all just try to manage to try to fight for the match?
It's December, man. It's been a year of football, almost a year of football. So everyone is battling something, whether it's a nagging injury, whether it's big, small. We're all battling something. So for me, it's about if I can play, I can play. And getting back on the field or getting myself in a position where I can play and utilize my skill set.
Chris, I think it's the 4-1 sequence. You guys called timeout and you guys take back on the field. Looked like they called timeout to make sure you weren't offsides. Can you just take us through?
I didn't know. I heard that when I was on the sideline, and Coach Reid told me they called timeout because of that. But I didn't know.
What happened with the swing play then?
We got off the field. They called offsides. Got the first down. 3 more plays. We was off the field. You remember? Okay.
Last one. Chris, did you hear the see Patrick for saying to him after the game, after his injury?
Just hugged him, man. That's my brother. We've been through so much. We can be mad at ourselves and we can ask God why. But at times it's more so a lesson that, you've been taught along the journey. And we'll be selfish to ask God why right now, why this. More so understand it, build from it. We love Pat. That's my guy. It's Pat Mahomes.
All right, that was Chris Jones, and that was our locker room report, which now we only have 3 more of these, I believe. 3 more, now that I think about it. Actually, might just be 2 more, Titans and Raiders, because we will not be having a red and gold post-game show on Christmas night. But there's the words from CJ95. It was a ravaged Chargers offensive line, same with the Chiefs, but I just would have liked to see more pressure from the guys up front. We saw Chris Jones take over that game last week. They did get to Justin Herbert a few times. This game's not really on the defense. He held the Chargers to 16 points, as it's been the last couple of weeks against top defenses. This Chiefs offense just couldn't find a way to get it done. Let's take a quick break, come back, and talk with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. He's coming up on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Second down and 7. And they go out here. Here comes Worthy. He'll dance and drive. And still will knock him out of bounds. Clock at 56 seconds. A catch and run to the 35. He picks up 26 on the play.
Well, this is just a rope out to the left sideline that Worthy just on a comeback to the, you see him at the top of the screen. He catches it and uses the speed to burst inside, but then realizing he needed to get out of bounds.
And that was the Andy Reid call of the game, which is brought to you by Shamrock Roofing and Construction, a proud supporter of Cars for Heroes and giving back to those in need. ShamrockRoofer.com. We're also presented by Bodabox Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Bodabox, the ultimate tailgate wine. Chiefs fall to the Chargers 16-13 at Arrowhead Stadium. They are officially eliminated from the postseason for the first time since 2014. To talk more about it, we jump on the phone lines to hear from Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. Well, Matt, would you say that you're surprised after a performance like today, or should we have just expected this coming into it? Because after all, Kansas City was 1-4 in their last 5 games. They were 1-6 in one-score games. They have 3 backup offensive linemen out there. Then they lose Jalen Moore, so you have 2 guys that were on the practice squad at one point, starting at left tackle and right tackle. Then Mahomes gets injured. I mean, is this just something we should have expected all along? Or are you still a little bit surprised that no miraculous run from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid is going to happen in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, today was probably the time that I was least surprised. I guess I've always expected this team was going to try to figure a way out of it. And last week, I think last week broke me. Today was the first time that I went into a game thinking the Chiefs are probably going to lose this game. And this was a microcosm. So, I mean, if you'd asked me in July if the Chiefs were going to be here, I would have just said that you need to be committed to a loony bin because there's no way the Chiefs are going to be 6-8 in this situation. Even if you had told me this in October, I still think you would have been crazy. But based on what we have seen over especially since the bye week, I mean, this is what this team has been. It's at this point, it's no longer a surprise. It's who they are. And like I said, this was another microcosm of it. It's just little mistakes costing them at the wrong time. The offense can't seem to get out of neutral. The defense plays well enough to win, but that's not good enough. can't get off the field. He's played well, but once again, if they could have gotten off the field at the right time, they could have won. And injuries, obviously, were a plethora of them today, but it's been an issue throughout the season. And it's been a disaster of a season, and how much more of a disaster could it be than Patrick Mahomes hurting his knee?
Yeah, let's jump over to that real quickly, because I feel, Matt, hindsight is 2020. If the Chiefs would have won this game, and we're talking about a 500 football team going to Tennessee next week, I mean, nobody is questioning playing Patrick Mahomes in today's game. And if they would have started Gardner Minshew, I doubt they even come close to winning this football game. But is there a world in which you could argue the other side of, man, it seems incredibly risky to play Patrick Mahomes with 3 backup offensive linemen? They're ravaged by injury. It hasn't looked good. He's constantly running for his life. He had the knee brace on against Houston. Is there a world in which you could have argued going into today, I just wouldn't play Patrick Mahomes the rest of the way. You roll the dice with Gardner Minshew, see what happens, but we just got to know it's not in the cards in 2025. We got to make sure he's healthy in 2026, or is that just kind of a stupid argument because Patrick Mahomes is never going to sit out? If there's no injury to talk about, why the hell would he sit out to begin with?
No, I mean, and people may see this as overblown, but, I mean, it's football, Jack, like you said. I mean, these guys, you look them in the eye and you tell them that they're not going to play despite the fact that they got an 11% chance to make the playoffs. You tell any one of those guys in the locker room that they have an 11% chance to make the playoffs, and in their minds it's 100% because they think they're going to win. They wouldn't be at this level. They wouldn't be these kind of athletes if they weren't at this level. And you're right. If you told Patrick Mahomes that he wasn't going to play today, not only would you have a fight with Patrick Mahomes, but you probably have a fight with about a half dozen other guys or more who'd be like, wait a minute, what are you doing to us? We can't win without our quarterback. Are you saying we can't win? You're just giving up? That's the wrong sign of an organization. So, I mean, is it a terrible idea? Not necessarily on paper, but once again, it's football. You play. These guys want to play. They don't want to sit and watch. They want to try and win. And, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes miraculously comes out of the MRI clean, he's probably going to say he wants to play next week. I don't think he will. I don't think you're going to see him the rest of the season, even if he's healthy. But that's just how competitive these guys are.
Yeah, this is a team that felt like, at least in the last couple of press conferences, that they still had one more run in them, and it's just not meant to be. They were not more physical than any of those playoff teams they faced. They were not sound enough offensively. Special teams, the defense was a bit inconsistent. So, Matt, if you're Brett Veach, what is the first thing on the checklist, if you will, for this offseason? They're going to have a much higher draft pick than they're used to. We know they're not great in terms of cap space there, but is this going to be one where you have to overhaul the roster a bit? Is it one where you don't need to panic too much because of a season that was just a down year and you were riddled with injuries? I mean, what really should be the plan of attack for Brett Veach? Because for the first time in a long one, there's not going to be a fan base that's quite content with an average offseason. They're going to want to see more aggressive moves, hitting on guys in the draft. It's much easier said than done, but I'm not sure they have that luxury of not doing much in the offseason and then having another slow start in 2026.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think the only thing that I think would probably surprise a lot of Chiefs fans is I get a sense in the organization that they don't feel like that there's necessarily fundamentally things wrong with this roster. That they feel like that there's still a Super Bowl contender that doesn't need luck, that doesn't need things to go their way. But at the same time, they also know where the deficiencies are. And we may have talked about this week, but I've mentioned it before. One of Brett Veach's most common phrases that he's used as his GM in Kansas City has been to say that you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are. He's talked in the off season about the fact that he looks back and was like, doesn't make sense that they were 15-2 last year because of some of the problems that they did have, and some of them were exposed in the Super Bowl, and they knew they had problems last year. They knew they had problems this year, and to your point, the salary cap was a barrier trying to address some of those problems. They wanted to have a better defensive line. They wanted to have another cornerback. They wanted to have a more electric backfield. And they just didn't have the resources to fix all those problems last offseason. they're still going to go back and try to address all those problems again this year. They're going to have to retool a few other areas because they got a lot of free agents in the wide receiver room. They're going to have to figure out, by March what's going on with Travis Kelce. There's a lot of decisions that they're going to have to make this year that are going to have significant impacts on what this roster and what this team looks like next year.
We're talking with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com as we do every single Red and Gold postgame show. Last one for you here, Matt. Really appreciate your time. You got 3 games left, and we heard Chris Jones say, there's still pride that you have to have as a competitor. We want to go out there and finish strong. If they win the final 3 games, it still is a winning record, maybe to the locker room. That means something, especially if Gardner Minshew is going to be starting all 3 of these games. But really for the fans out there, Matt, how should they watch these games? Because never in your wildest thoughts could you have painted a scenario in 2025 that we'd be talking about moral victories or young guys getting reps and it's good for competition. There's not a lot of rookies out there that I feel will benefit from these final 3 games. There's a few for sure, but they're so banged up. There's a lot of backups out there. 2 of these 3 teams are awful football teams, and you won't be playing in much of an environment. The only real big rivalry game you have left that could be a close one, even if Gardner Minshew's playing, is Christmas night against the Denver Broncos. I wouldn't fight you if you said that game's not going to be close whatsoever. Because, again, at the end of the day, these games don't really matter all that much other than draft position. So for the fans out there, how do you approach it? Is it, we're just watching a football game, I hope the Chiefs win, or is there actually some intricate details of this team that we probably need to know about over the last final 3 games?
Yeah, and, and this is where, and Chiefs fans definitely will not want to hear this, but you are going to run up into the business of football on Christmas night because I can tell you no one would be happy, whether it's Roger Goodell, the NFL, your TV partners, probably even Clark Hunt, too, if you roll out of the junior varsity team on Christmas night against the Broncos. I think you're almost in a spot where you're going to have to play as many of your starters, and you want to. I mean, this team doesn't want to go out, and like Chris Jones said, I mean, they have pride. They want to go out, and they want to try and win some games, and if they don't win, they want to be competitive. They don't want to get blown out in 3 straight games like they did in Week 18 against the Broncos last year. They want to be competitive, and that Christmas night nationally televised game, they don't want to lose like 38-0 to the Broncos on that one. So there's going to be, I think, in the next 2 games, you're treating these a little bit more like still regular season games that matter. Maybe not matter to the degree that today did. I mean, once again, Trent McDuffie didn't play today. They didn't force him in. I wouldn't force Trent McDuffie back until if he's not 100% the rest of the season, maybe you shut him down. The same thing is probably true of Trey Smith and Juwan Taylor. There are young guys that I do think could benefit from continuing to play. I mean, Noel Williams it looks like a really promising player. He's got some things to work on, though. He's got to learn some discipline. That was kind of evident today. So I think you're going to continue to see him, especially with McDuffie out. I mean, no offense to Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, but both of them are going to be free agents in this offseason. I mean, if Rashard Smith doesn't get like 50 touches in the next 3 games, I'm going to be like, what's the purpose? I mean, you got to learn something about this ground game and about your running backs and about that offensive line. You need to learn something about these guys. And you really don't need to be going out and just getting 2.5 yards in a cloud of dust in the run game. So I feel like these next 2 games, you got to play them like they matter. No, not only for the pride of the team, to keep them involved, to keep this group together, but to help some of the young guys develop. And then, yeah, I mean, at Week 18, Grant, that's when everybody plays their backups if they have to and need to. So yeah, Week 18 will be a different critter. But I think the next two games, I think you got to treat them like they're games that you want to win.
All right, Matt. Well, appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk to you next week after the Titans game.
Sounds great, Jack. Take care, my friends.
There he goes. That's Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Andy Reid. He's next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It's a 12-yard touchdown run, and the Chiefs have scored first.
He already has more yards rushing this season than he has in any other season as the starter. Watch here, he's going to get the protection up front, but then there's going to be an opening here, and he takes advantage of it. No sliding going on. You get that close to the end zone. He's able to get the touchdown on the opening drive.
And that was the magic of Mahomes, which is brought to you by Zintex Bath and Remodeling. Zintex Remodeling can transform your bath in just one day. Save $999 or choose 0% interest financing. Mention WHB and get a free Kohler toilet with purchase. Visit Zintex.com. That's Zintex.com. And you are tuned into the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Bodabox Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Bodabox, the ultimate tailgate wine. Well, it's possible that for the rest of the season, we will not be hearing from Patrick Mahomes during the Red and Gold Postgame Show. We'll get the word from the MRI tomorrow on Patrick Mahomes and his knee. But if it's Gardner Minshew at the podium against the Titans and against the Raiders, the last two Red and Gold postgame shows of the year, we'll just be taking Gardner Minshew live there at the podium, along with the other players like Chris Jones. And who knows, sometimes if you have a star player from the game, we might get them live as well. But in case you were living under a rock this afternoon, Chiefs fall to the Chargers 16-13, and they are officially eliminated from the postseason for the first time since 2014. We are going to hear from Andy Reid, as we do every single Red and Gold postgame show, and as we will continue to do for the final two shows of the season. Let's kick things off here with Big Red's opening statement.
All right, as far as the injuries go, Patrick hurt his left knee. We'll get an MRI tomorrow or this evening, whenever they get him in there. And then Jalen Moore, likewise left knee. And then Thornton got hit in the head, and we'll just see where he's at, but he's in the protocol right now. Listen, all in all, we came up short. We on both sides of the ball and special teams, we had a few mistakes, and that ends up costing you against a good football team. I appreciate the effort of the guys and stepping up, playing hard and aggressive. Some positions were backup guys to backup guys, and they battled their tail off. So that's appreciated. Our fans, we appreciate them showing up in the cold here and supporting us, best fans in the National Football League. So, but with that, we've got to do better. Get opportunities in the red zone, more field position. You got to take advantage of that. If it's special teams, we've got to create field position, and then defensively, we've got to maintain it. And so, in those cases, we weren't quite good enough in all three phases. And again, that's my responsibility to make sure that you don't have these kind of mistakes. And so, I'll look in the mirror first on this. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
It's just a team that never really got it cleaned up, and whether that be a talent thing or whether it be inability to fix those issues, whether that be coachability, I doubt that. We have seen a team that has been so coachable, so poised each and every season. This year it's just different. How many games, how many losses have we talked about? Got to clean it up, got to get better. They never did. And even if they do in these final three games, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but who cares? I don't feel any differently about this season if they win the final three games of the season. Sure, you like them winning football games.
I prefer they don't.
I'm with Dylan there. Why would you want to go 9-8 and then pick outside the top 15? No, it would be terrible to look up at a record at 6-11, losing 8 of your last 9. But when you don't have Patrick Mahomes out there, I'm not rooting for losses, but you can look at the bigger picture here.
I mean, think about that Patriots season where Brady goes down, they go 11-6 and miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
So not only did they not get to the playoffs, they finished.
They won a lot of games and got Matt Castle.
Yeah.
Got Matt Castle some value, of course.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
So they almost made up for it with that. So two ways to look at it, I guess.
Absolutely two ways to look at it. I know that if they lose to the Titans and the Raiders, that is just not going to be fun to watch whatsoever. But then you look to April and where they'll be picking and who they'll be mocked to. Maybe there can be somebody that can be a difference maker year one, because we haven't really seen that in the last couple of seasons, though I did think Worthy finished the year strong last year, and he was a round one, year one impact type of player. So what was the locker room vibe after the game? Every single game in the Patrick Mahomes era, if there was a loss, there was a way to spin it. Hey, now we're going to be fine. We're going to get back up on the horse here. We still know what the ultimate goal is. There is no ultimate goal this year. The ultimate goal now is finish with pride, and that's all you got. So what did Andy Reid have to say with the locker room attitudes following the loss?
Yeah, the guys are down. They busted their butt to win the game, and I wouldn't expect anything less. It's not a great feeling. I wouldn't expect it to be after losing a game.
I thought it was interesting. Matt Derrick said, I felt that last week really did them in. It was not a good morale in the locker room. Guys were down. Rashee Rice left early. Travis Kelce didn't want to speak to the media. That happened again, by the way, today with Travis Kelce. He did not want to speak to the media. So it feels like a team that's just incredibly down, because how could you envision this season going like this? Even with the slow start at 0-2. You thought they were going to be able to turn things around, and they did for 3 games at home in the middle of the season. And really the first half of the season, after the bye week. Usually when they kick it up a notch, they got far worse and far more injured each and every week. It was just too much to overcome when it was all said and done. Here was Andy Reid talking about the mindset going into this tough situation.
Yeah, sure. Listen, I can't tell you I'm happy. Why? So it's a tough deal there, when you deal with that. But at the same time, we've got a few more games here we got to take care of.
A few more games that you can get reps for guys like Bashard Smith, as Matt Derrick said. Defensive reps for Ashton Gelati out there. Maybe you can see some guys in the secondary like Noel Williams. Kevin Knowles get some run. Terrible to say that that's what you're looking forward to. And I think it makes it even worse that 2 of the 3 games on the schedule are against just eyesores of football teams. Nothing against, some of the young talent they have. They're in more of a rebuilding year, but if you watch enough Titans games this year and watch enough Raiders games, you know it's ugly. Now, with the way the Chiefs have played in their last 6 games, it's going to be some ugly football for all 4 quarters against Tennessee and against the Raiders. By the way, did get this word here in a text that also Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy had left the locker room before the media entered. So kind of a similar story to last week. It's a locker room that's just down on itself. Down about their play, down about the overall performance of the season. And the Chiefs will speak to the media on Monday, at least Andy Reid will. And we certainly will know more from Patrick Mahomes, or the news on Patrick Mahomes. But when you get to that point in the season and guys are just out of answers, that's kind of when you know it's over. And that's why last week we opened up our show saying that was the nail in the coffin, because I didn't hear anything in the audio we played, Dylan. I didn't hear anything from Matt Derrick that indicated, hey, we're still in this thing. That felt like the dagger to the heart. And now it's very clear that was the dagger to the heart. Here was Andy Reid on the brutal interception that Patrick Mahomes had on a shot in the red zone. Felt very similar to the Denver game, where he had Elijah Mitchell open. He never really had Kareem Hunt open on this play, but he forced the issue. And he didn't need to settle for 3, tie the game up, win the game with your defense. It was a bad mistake, and a mistake that, honestly, Dylan, it's happened too many times this season.
Well, I was actually just going to say, half of them aren't even his mistake this time, or these occurrences this season. The, Jags game where he throws one to Devin Lloyd, or the tipped one off Kelsey's hands to the Eagles. It just seems like the red zone was not, obviously it's a priority, but it just seems like the ball was not as highly sought after as it has been in the past, because they always take care of it. They just get the 3 points at minimum. And it just felt like this year they did not have that, attention to detail. It's weird to say about the Chiefs.
They were starving for that big play.
Right.
They just never really got that big play. Hell, I'm watching the Broncos-Packers game right in front of me. 3rd and goal from the 13. I'd ask everybody what their confidence level would be in this Chiefs offense scoring in that type of situation. Matt LaFleur, in the past, every time.
Yeah.
No, every time.
Now, absolutely not.
Hey, put it 3rd and goal from the 30. They're probably still finding a way to score. The Packers just ran a wheel route to Josh Jacobs, one-on-one with the linebacker, over the top, beautifully thrown, touchdown. I mean, you just never got to play like this season, or play like that this season for the Chiefs offense. And when they tried to make the play, it wasn't just incomplete. It was a turnover in a spot where you just couldn't have a turnover.
That's what I'm saying. Like, in the past, it's a field goal at worst. Now it's like we turn the ball over, and that also kills the momentum of your team.
Yeah.
Because all the time we're completing these third downs, moving the ball, 11 plays, 8 plays, long periods of time. It's backbreaking.
Yeah, it can't happen, and even the broadcast had picked it up on the sideline. Guys were spiking their helmets, and Travis Kelce's seen there on the sideline. He's not getting into anybody, lighting a fire under anybody. It's not always going to be his job, but it happened so frequently at the end of the season. Was just this glazed over look on the sideline. It was like, don't really have any answers. We're just not making the plays. We're not fixing anything. And that's where you got to go back to the Denver game. I mean, that's how early this started, when the glazed look on the sideline would just be all over their face. And in previous years, somebody's lighting a fire under somebody's ass.
That zoom-in shot of the Kelce 1,000-mile stare.
Yes.
On any primetime game, you feel like we're about to lose. The other team's driving.
Yep.
They have a producer. Find Kelce.
And it's like the surrender cobra you see from fans.
Yep.
Where they're sensing that dread. And usually it's been the opponent that's sensing dread and facing the Chiefs. It's been completely opposite this year. Here was Andy Reid on the momentum shift that happened right before halftime. We are going to talk about the interception. Sorry, we did jump the gun there. Andy Reid on that interception that happened in the red zone later on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they probably want that one back. You didn't want to throw an interception there. You thought that Kareem could potentially make a play on a linebacker. But that's what happened.
And that kind of goes back to needing a more explosive running back. If you're going to throw these wheel routes, these one-on-one with linebackers, you got to have somebody that can get away.
We thought he could make a play on a linebacker.
I know. I don't know how.
That was kind of what stood out to me on that, more so than, I don't know.
And those 2 interceptions we're talking about doing, the Elijah Mitchell one in Denver, or when he was open, and then Kareem Hunt right there, you're throwing the ball to somebody who...
I'm going to chalk that up as him defending Mahomes.
Yes.
I don't think he actually thinks that we were expecting Kareem to make a play on a linebacker.
Unless he thought Kareem Hunt was somebody else.
The play had to be he left him 10 yards behind him.
Yeah.
That's the play he makes on the linebackers at the line of scrimmage, leaving him there. I mean, he's not going to jump ball over one. Maybe early on in his career, absolutely. Yeah. I just don't know now.
Certainly not now.
I just think he's defending Mahomes.
They do not have an explosive enough running back to make that type of play. And guess what? That needs to be one of the top priorities.
I don't know who does. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah, but even
Bijan?
Somebody like Josh Jacobs right there, he's got enough speed.
Oh, yeah. Speed
and ball control.
I'm talking about a jump ball.
Oh, jump ball. No, right. You're going to have if you're going to call wheel routes.
You do have
then
to
he's got to have the speed.
Happen.
Yeah.
But you could also have to expect that there could be a jump ball, so he has to be able to make that play as well.
And that just was never going to be completed. No. You were hoping at that point.
I thought he was throwing it out of bounds.
Kareem Hunt becomes a cornerback.
I just thought he was throwing it out of bounds.
Yeah. Immediately under pressure, settle for 3. It's frustrating, I know. But you got to play with your defense there because they were giving you a shot in the last 2 games there. Now let's get to the momentum shift near halftime. The Chiefs were up 13-3. All things were clicking for them defensively, and the Chargers did what every team hopes to do right before the half. You double dip. You go down and score a touchdown. They didn't get a touchdown out of halftime, but they got a field goal to tie the game. And not only did they score right before half, they did so with 5 seconds. So they left no time on the board for the Chiefs, and all of that momentum flipped in favor of L.A. Here was Andy Reid on that.
Yeah, well, it was a return, so you get a big return, and that's not good. That's I flipped some switches there. Then they get the ball the first series, so they score on the last series of the half. You come back first series and get points. That's not good.
Yeah, it was an ugly finish of the half, and there were multiple times you could have gotten off the field, couldn't get it done. Yeah, there was the controversial, did he catch it, did he not? I don't want to leave this game up to that. It was honestly good coverage from Noel Williams as well. I'm not going to be harping on that. It was a hell of a catch. That call stood. It is what it is. But then you got to hold him to 3 there. You got to make sure you're holding him to 3. And the frustrating part is you were driving. You had a chance to maybe go up by 14. you have to settle for 3. Now, I know we just talked about settling for 3 later on in the game. Different situations, different circumstances. Settling for 3 there, giving the ball back to the Chargers with plenty of time to make it a one-score game. You did the worst thing defensively, which was allowing them to score a touchdown. Then they drive down the field to open up the second half. Chiefs never scored again in those final 2 quarters. Here was Andy Reid on battling through some of the injuries. We know the offensive line is ravaged, but they're down McDuffie today. Chris Jones had missed some time with a hamstring problem. Jalen Watson got banged up. Nick Bolton was banged up. I mean, injuries all over the field. Here was Andy Reid on battling through that adversity.
Yeah, it was physical. So, yeah, the guys, I appreciate that. That's they battled. It wasn't for a lack of effort or battling. It was just had some mistakes. It cost us.
Yeah, too many mistakes. And that is the theme of the 2025 Chiefs season. I thought late in the game, after a 3rd and 16 completion, Tyquan Thornton hauls it in. Then there's the crackback block from Juju Smith-Schuster. People were upset by that. Gets penalized, 3rd and 5. You go back to Thornton. He gets lit up on the play, helmet to helmet. There's an ejection. There's a scrum on the field. So many previous Chiefs teams would take that spark and run with it. Game's getting fiery. You're standing up for your teammate. I love to see that. Big conversion. Go down and punch the ball into the end zone. And what happens? It was that interception we were just going over. That's just what happens with this team and would never happen on the previous Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs teams. So that hit on Tyquan Thornton, it led to a large skirmish. Andy Reid brought up in the injury report that he's dealing with the concussion protocol. We'll get more word on that, I feel, a little bit later on. But here was Andy Reid on that big-time hit that knocked Tyquan Thornton out of the game.
The league, they took care of it. So it was what happened. Yeah, it's one of those kind of hits. There were a couple of those. They got him on that one.
I will say this, too, because I want to give credit to Tyquan Thornton, and I'm not trying to take a shot at Rashee Rice, because Rashee Rice also got lit up. Multiple times where when you get crunched like that, it's going to take a special type of physicality to hold on to that. When you get blindsided, and the way that Derwin James hit him.
And unfortunately for Rashee, it's on tape 2 weeks in a row that they can dislodge the football that way. So
he's gotten crunched.
I would get used to that.
Yes.
And also don't call slants to him all the time.
Yeah, you got to.
It's also called a bang 8 for a reason. Because as soon as you catch the football,
you're getting drilled.
Yeah.
You're getting drilled. And so that's why I want to give some praise to Tyquan Thornton. He got drilled and still found a way to hang on to the ball. And I thought that was a moment that could flip the game. Whereas Rashee Rice, both times the ball was thrown to him, he got lit up and dropped the ball. And he did get hit harder than Tyquan there. It's very hard to do. Certainly know that there's many people in this world that could not hang on to the ball like that. But see, that kind of goes back to the theme of this season. Past Chiefs teams, guy gets lit up, just crunched over the middle. They're somehow hanging on to the football. This year, almost every time it's happened, the ball gets dislodged. And what's worse is then you get a little bit banged up from it. Wind gets knocked out of you. But that play to Tyquan Thornton, thought it was going to be the spark. Get players into it, they're fired up, and of course, that drive ends in a turnover. Here was Andy Reid on the mindset for this football team after being eliminated from playoff contention today.
Yeah, well, we got to take care of business the next few games. So, I'm just coming off the field. My mind was on this game here and taking care of it there, and I wanted to come out different, obviously. So I haven't gone too much further than that.
I am in lockstep with Matt Derrick that I feel these final 3 weeks you just got to throw every guy out there that needs reps. Now, I've gone back and forth, but really, what do some of the older guys on this team gain, other than some incentives maybe? Playing a certain amount of games, getting an extra sack, getting a turnover, receiving yards. But I want to see the young guys get reps in this game. I really do. That's all you can really get out of these final 3 games. I don't care if you beat the Titans and Raiders. It would be fun to beat the Broncos on Christmas night just because Christmas night hasn't treated you well before when the Chiefs had played on the holiday. But you finished 3-0, as Dylan had brought up, correctly, I might add. You win these final 3 games, the only thing you're doing is hurting your draft position. Nobody wants that at this point. If you're going to make us suffer through a bad season like this, you might as well get rewarded with a higher pick coming out of it. Last 2 here from Andy Reid. He talked about the offensive line's performance and the growth they've had over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, positive. Listen, I'll find a positive in that. So these young guys had an opportunity to play, get a chance to see what they can do. I thought they did a respectable job in there. So that's good as we grow here as a team.
You have an offensive line that is starting 3 undrafted players, and I thought in spurts today they were fine. Chu Godric, an international player, he has to fill in for Jalen Moore. Esapole, he did give up a couple of pressures, but I expect that from somebody that was on the practice squad for the majority of the season, had lost him to the Jets, get him back. But if you would have told me in June that this game against the Chargers, you were starting Godric and Esapole, or if you even told me that in preseason, I would say, man, so they're undefeated and they've already wrapped up the number 1 seed. That's why those guys are playing? Then if you would have said due to injury, I'd say, well, have they won more than 3 games at that point? Because to have your 3rd-string left tackle and 3rd-string right tackle out there in a game you had to have, the writing was just always going to be on the wall. But here was Andy Reid on the performance of the 3rd-string right tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just come a long way from not playing a lot of football. And he's a very good athlete, smart kid. And it's great that he had a chance to get in and compete.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
All right, good.
All right, that was Andy Reid after the 16-13 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. For the first time since 2014, Kansas City will not appear in the postseason. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll give you some scores from around the league on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
chasing 6. Jalen Watson comes up with his second sack of the season on the fly off the edge.
Watson's going to be coming from off the screen here. He's out to the right, lined up, pressed on the slot. He works around the edge. There's nobody there. Herbert knows that, so he tries to take off and run. And when he gets out to the side, there's no receivers on that side of the field.
And Jalen Watson made the right choice on that sack, which is brought to you by Choice Solutions. Make the right choice today by going to choicesolutions.com for their trusted IT consulting and managed services. And you're tuned into the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Boda Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda, the ultimate tailgate wine. We are wrapping up our show, so let's give you some scores from around the league and what's on deck for tonight in the NFL. The surprise of the afternoon, the Indianapolis Colts, led by 44-year-old Phillip Rivers, against the vicious defense of the Seattle Seahawks. They lead 13-6. Phillip Rivers out there leading the Colts on the road in Seattle against the 10-3 Seahawks. He is 10 of 16, 82 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown came on the receiving end of Josh Downs. Also, Jonathan Taylor has 16 carries for 57 yards. Defense has done one heck of a job in bottling up Sam Darnold and the rushing attack of Kenneth Walker. We'll see how that plays out in the second half. The Packers lead the Broncos 16-14 in Mile High. I'm sure Denver fans are rejoicing when they saw the scoreboard up there at Mile High, Empower Field at Mile High. The Chiefs had officially lost, and they won't have to worry about them in the postseason. But all eyes now are on the number one spot in the AFC. The Patriots blew a 21-0 lead earlier today to Buffalo, so Denver can leapfrog them later on tonight. The 49ers lead the Titans 17-10 at halftime. Carolina leads New Orleans 16-7 in the Big Easy. 9:54 left to go in the third quarter. Lions lead the Rams in a shootout 24-17. Aiden Hutchinson nearly had a pick six early on in this one. As we just mentioned, the Bills come back to beat the Patriots in Foxborough. They split the season series 35-31. Josh Allen gets it done. So we'll see now how the AFC East plays out down the stretch. Buffalo, though, another team very thrilled they're not going to have to see Kansas City in January. The Ravens shut out the Bengals 24-0. The Jags nearly hang 50 on the Jets. They win 48-20, one of the hottest teams in all of football. The Texans take care of business against the Cardinals. They beat them by 20, 40-20 the final in that one. The Bears continue their unbelievable season. They completely shut down Shedeur Sanders as Chicago wins at home 31-3. The Commanders win a one-score game against the Giants 29-21 up in Jersey. The Eagles bounce back and shut out the Raiders 31-0. And coming up later on tonight, the Dallas Cowboys will be at home on Sunday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. Cowboys are a 5.5-point favorite. Total in that game is set at 47.5. Those have been your scores from around the league. When we come back, though it's not been a pretty 6-game stretch here in doing this segment, we are going to give you our player of the game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. That's coming up on the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
working to the inside. Kelsey just goes off to the outside. He's able to come up with that low pass, bring it in, and get the first down. But watch this throw by Mahomes. He steps up in the pocket. He has to go sidearm to get underneath the arm of Tart before getting hit.
And that was the sweet play of the game, which is brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Stop by Andy's Frozen Custard, grab an 87 Concrete, and help Travis's 87 and running foundation with every purchase. Do good while eating deliciousness. Andy's, top your day with a smile. And you are tuned into the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is presented by Boda Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda the ultimate tailgate wine. Chiefs fall to the Chargers 16-13. They are officially eliminated from postseason contention with 3 games to go. Patrick Mahomes injured his knee in this game, the final drive of the game. Andy Reid said it did not look good, but they'll have an MRI tomorrow. We'll also get the updates with Tyquan Thornton, also Jalen Moore. Incredibly banged-up team, and a team that just, when it mattered most, couldn't get it done. And usually, when we do this segment of picking a player of the game, it's somebody that really stands out in a win. But unfortunately, in these last 6 postgame shows, or 5 postgame shows, because we didn't have one on Thanksgiving, and a reminder, we will not have one on Christmas night after the Denver Broncos game, we're just going to have to go with Drew Tranquill here. Why give it to Drew Tranquill? Well, he did have 14 total tackles in this one. 8 of them were solo. 1 of them was a TFL. Some other guys that were honorable mentions. Charles Omenihu had 1.5 sacks in this one. Ashton Gelati had a half a sack, and he also had an interception in this one. Travis Kelce had 7 catches for 70 yards. Nobody was effective on the ground. Their leading rusher was Isaiah Pacheco with 21 yards on 11 carries, good for a 1.9 yard per clip. That's just never going to be enough to get it done. And how many times this season have we talked about an ineffective running game? Chiefs didn't do anything at the deadline, didn't do anything in the offseason, and that's kind of why you're sitting here right now with a very ineffective offense and one that could never get it going on the ground. But do want to give Drew Tranquill the honor of our player of the game, and it's brought to you by the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art. The free exhibition, Personal Best, features 6 Kansas City artist-athletes at the top of their game. Come see how discipline, dedication, and drive can power both art making and athletics. Learn more at nelson-atkins.org. We're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we'll wrap it up right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Herbert with the 3rd and 6. The punt fake and grab. Gelati got him again. Nice play inside. Hit by Hicks. Grabbed by Gelati. And down he goes back at the 31. And no gain on the play. 4th and 6. They'll try for 3 and getting their first lead today.
Gelati's coming off the edge. Nobody blocks him because there's all the pressure from the linebackers coming up through the middle. So you have to protect the inside gap. Gelati on the edge, just nobody even accounts for him, and he's able to wrap around and bring down Herbert.
And that combined sack was the Stack the Box defensive play of the game. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda-Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda-Box is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda-Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda-Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. For the first time since 2014, the Kansas City Chiefs will not be participating in the postseason. They were eliminated following a loss to the Los Angeles Chargers at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chargers sweep Kansas City on the season. They're now 10-4. Broncos are taking on the Packers. They're 11-2, still atop the AFC West and trying to remain on top in the AFC as the number 1 seed. So for now, all Chiefs fans can do is just watch these final 3 games. Maybe you're rooting for wins. Maybe you're rooting for better draft position. As for us, we got 2 more of these for the season. One after the Titans, one after the Raiders. We will not have one on Christmas night after the Broncos. But for a lot of you, maybe you are just hoping that with the season coming to an end, that means it's time for change. We'll get the word on Patrick Mahomes tomorrow, and we'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs. Until then, you take it easy, Kansas City.